You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
What a beautiful day for horses in the morning.
You are listening to the #1 horse podcast in the world. Here's your entertaining look at the horse world and the people in it.
I am Glenn the Geek.
And I am Allison Rehnborg in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and you're listening to the monthly Equine Affaire episode of Horses in the Morning on the Horse Radio Network for January the 16th. This episode is brought to you by Equine Affaire. Good morning, Horse World.
It's the third Thursday of the month. That means it's time for the Equine Affaire episode, North America's premier equine expo and equestrian gathering.
Well, Happy New Year, everybody in Equine Affaire world. You guys, when the new year turns, you start getting really serious about April and what happens in Ohio. So I'm excited too, because we'll be there. We'll have our booth again. So the listeners, you can stop by and say hi. We'll also put together another meetup like we did last year. That was a lot of fun. So We'll be doing that as well. But what's the news out of Equine Affaire in Ohio right now?
Oh, so much good stuff. Well, by now we have announced a few different times, but not on the podcast, that we are having Donkey Extravaganza with the Peaceful Valley Donkey Rescue.
And what are we doing with the donkeys?
That's the big question. So basically, we're devoting a whole section of Equine Affaire to everything donkey. So in the Voinovich building, we'll have a whole special leg of the trade show that's all about donkey products and donkey services and donkey everything. We're going to have demos related to donkeys. We're going to have, obviously, donkeys there. And then Peaceful Valley Donkey Rescue will have a big presence. But basically, anything you ever wanted to learn or know about donkeys, that's what's going to happen at the Donkey Extravaganza.
I love that because it's different. I love that.
It is.
Yeah.
It's different. People are like going crazy over it. I was blown away by the response to the first Facebook post about it that I think I did in December. Everybody went nuts. And so I'm very excited. I've been making jokes, working on my donkey related jokes, but I have to keep them family friendly.
Yeah, I was just going to say there's a lot of those, but you can't make posters probably.
No. You know, mostly Trace Adkins Badonka news. I don't know. I've got to work on it, but that's really fun. And I think that's going to be a great time and maybe draw some more people to come who have donkeys with their horses. A lot of people are donkey crazy. Who knew? So we're very excited. I
am shocked here where we live. Obviously, we live in Ocala, so there's horse farms everywhere. But I am shocked at the number of donkeys. Even in our neighborhood, there are a lot of donkeys. There's probably 100 donkeys in our neighborhood.
You should get one.
We've actually joked about it. I'll have to go to the Extravaganza first and see what I learned. But yeah. But it's speaking of which, are tickets on sale for Equine Affaire in Ohio and Fantasia in Ohio?
Yes, they are on sale now. You can get them at our website, equineaffaire.com, or by going to Western Edge, which is a mobile app. And I recommend that you download the app and keep it on your phone. You can get your tickets there. You can see event information, program, the scavenger hunt, all kinds of cool stuff is happening on there. So definitely get your tickets today because they're going quickly, especially with all the buzz from the Donkey Extravaganza. Everybody's really excited. And of course, we'll have tons and tons of the usual horse stuff. So nobody get too worried that the long years are going to take over or anything. But we will have lots of donkeys, and I'm excited about that. We had some mini donkeys doing obstacle courses in Massachusetts, and everybody, that talk about a crowded clinic, that was like standing room only. I remember walking by and I was like, why can I not see what's going on in the ring? And so I kind of fought my way to the front, and I realized it's because everybody wanted to see those mini donkeys doing cute stuff. So, yeah.
All right, cool. And who's coming up on today's show?
Yes, so we're lucky enough to have two of our Ohio clinicians with us today. First, we've got Luke Reinbold from up in Canisteo, New York, and then we'll have Ryan Rose from Wisconsin, and they're both going to come on and share some tips with us and some perspectives on training horses. So first we have Luke Reinbold. He is a professional horse trainer who specializes in starting colts, working with troubled horses, and helping people gain confidence. He hosts his clinics and works out of Painted Horse Ranch in Canisteo, New York. He has a unique style of teaching developed after years of learning from horses and from his formal training as an instructor in law enforcement academies. So we are excited to have Luke on the show and chat with him all about that. Well, welcome, Luke, to the show. It's good to have you with us today.
Well, it's so good to be joining you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. So tell us, where are you calling from today?
So I am calling from Canisteo, New York, which is where we call home, and it is in the southwestern corner of the Finger Lakes region of New York State. So up in the hills, it's not necessarily what people would think about of New York State. It's very rural. You really can't see any neighbors from my house. It's pretty remote. So
are you far enough away from the lake effect snows, or do you get those?
Yeah, we're in a very interesting spot because we're far enough east from Lake Erie. We're probably almost a 2-hour drive. So we just sometimes get the tail end of those lake effect bands, and we're far enough south from Lake Ontario. We don't really get that either. So we're we still can get the cold, but we don't get those giant snowfalls.
Well, that's good.
Typically, so.
As a guy from lives in Florida, I'm happy for you.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I mean, it's still cold, but.
Yes. How cold does it? I mean, it gets really cold up there. How cold do you usually get?
I have seen negative 20s Fahrenheit, but typically it's not going to get. I mean, it's been below freezing for a few days now, but typically we'll have a few days below zero, but a lot of times it's teens, 20s, things for the lows. So.
Yeah.
In the summer, it's so amazing because we have the same breezes that we're dealing with right now. In the summer, it feels amazing. So.
Yeah. Well, I always love to ask because, people, if you're not in New York or from New York, we all categorize New York State as New York City. That's all it is. It's just a gigantic state. Sure. It's a gigantic city. And so I always find it interesting to say, okay, wait a second. There's more to New York than New York City. So.
There definitely is. There's actually a fun fact. There's over 17 million wooded acres in the state of New York. And a lot of the counties, some of the counties at least, the cows actually outnumber the humans. So, yeah, it is definitely different than New York City.
Well, okay. And that's interesting because, one of your clinics in Ohio this spring is going to be for Cowtown. You're going to do an intro to cattle clinic. And I was curious, how much cow work do you get to do up there?
We get to do, so we used to run a beef herd ourselves and a cow-calf operation, and there are quite a few cattle, and, they're not the giant ranches like you might see out west, but there still are a lot of cows. So we do that. I mean, we still have cows during the summer, and we absolutely love doing that. And, yeah, so I guess I would say you can do as much as you want to.
That's nice. And I do know, so this is our second year to have Cowtown in Cooper at the Ohio event. And I will say every time I post about it on our Facebook, I have so many people up north, up from our Massachusetts event, begging us to bring Cowtown up there. And the venue is just not really set up to handle cows. But I'm always intrigued. Right. It seems like we have a ton of cow people up there, up east. So we're excited to get to bring you down to Ohio, though, and teach us about cows. I wanted to ask, have you presented at Equine Affaire before, or is this your first time?
We did present at Equine Affaire a couple years ago in the Massachusetts event. We have not been to Columbus yet.
Okay. Are you excited to come down south?
Oh, we're very excited. Oh, the Equine Affairs are such a fun, venue, and just so many people are so excited about horses. So it's great to be there. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. And we have such a huge, diverse crowd. I mean, at both of our events, but especially in Ohio, it's a little bit different because we have a lot of standardbred people. We have a lot of Western people, but we still have a really strong English contingent. But I mean, that's one of the cool things is we have people from every kind of discipline who want to come and learn from people like you or dressage clinicians or whatever. And the Cowtown feature has been hugely popular. I mean, the stands were full every single clinic last year. And I know a lot of people are super excited to do Cowtown again. So I was excited.
It is one of the fastest. It is one of the fastest growing sports for sure. I mean, we have people driving all the way from Maine to come down here, which is a 10-hour drive in a lot of places just to work cows and do some of that. Yeah, it is definitely, I mean, people just love cows because it's free. It's not scripted, right? When you're making a cattle run, it's not like a whole laid out course and things. And it's, some people, you just don't have to think about it as much. You can, trust your horse to really be the other part of the team with that. And it's so much fun.
Well, is that what you love about it? Like what's your favorite part of working with cattle?
Yeah, I think that is the part of it, because my favorite part is just, well, one, it's rewarding, like especially when we were doing all the cattle with the cow-calf pairs, we did all the vaccinations, we did all of the doctoring and everything, all horseback, right? The old-fashioned way. And for us, it was almost even, it's like to me, as a favorite, we call that our family holiday, because my brothers would come and all of my kids and my wife and everybody. And it's just, it's basically an excuse to have fun together. So yeah, there's so many elements of it that is, I jokingly tell people when they come, I'm like, this is as much fun as the law will allow. Like, it's just all the aspects. The horse gets tuned into cows. The cows are it just feels right when you're doing things, that way, unplugged from the world even.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're so used to thinking about that as an out west or even a Midwest thing, but it's fun to realize, hey, that happens up in New York State too. So I love that.
Sure.
I love that you get to do that. And speaking of the law, I read something in your bio that got me curious. So you were an instructor in law enforcement. Is that right?
Yeah, so I have a 12-year career in law enforcement. I left that in 2017 to really pursue my dream of doing horses full time. And really, when I had started that career, I had only actually planned to do that for a couple of years as we were building the business. But long story short, life happens, and I lost my business partner and mentor in life, who happened to be my father-in-law. And, just kind of took the wind out of our sails. So in the meantime, we just built a career, and they had sent me to many different academies to become an instructor. And I taught general topics as well as suicide prevention. I taught one of my favorite ones, which I apply a lot with working with people and horses, is actually defensive tactics. I was able to teach that quite often. And I just, love teaching basically anything. And it really helped me learn a lot of the psychology about how we handle and relate to stress and stressful situations, and how that can even apply to horses. Although it may not be defending ourselves physically, it's the mindset behind it, which is so important.
Well, I'm sorry about your father-in-law. That's really tough. I lost my dad just last month, so I feel you on that. Thank you. But the defensive tactics, so are you talking about, like, if you're going trail riding by yourself and you run across somebody that you might need to defend yourself against, or what do you mean?
No, so with it's the mindset. So many times we think about, or we can, there's basically two ways to approach, scary situations. And one is to try to do the best we can to be mentally prepared. And in some cases, it's physically prepared too, right? But I'm not necessarily talking, right, defend yourself from, let's say, some people might think trail riding a bear or right, some sort of other attacker. Not necessarily referring to that, but if we're constantly almost scared of our surroundings, about maybe the deer will jump out, or I'm just sure my horse is going to spook, or anything like that, what that tends to create us to be is very reactive, right? And in the defensive tactics, we called it the OODA loop. It's OODA, and that stood for observe. That's the first O. Orient is the second, right? Decide is the D, and then the A is act. So it's the same concept that even fighter pilots use. And it is, you don't really want to be the guy, right? You don't want to be the guy with a plane trying to shoot you down, right?
Right.
Because reaction, and the concept is if any of this stuff is happening in tactical situations, reaction is always slower than the action.
Yes.
Right. So if you're constantly reacting to all of these things that are happening, basically, you're caught behind, and it's really tough to catch up. So the whole mental aspect that I refer to is, have a plan with that horse. Start that plan maybe, in the round pen even. And I'll start that even with a colt, right? I want to start teaching that horse that I'm going to help them in situations, right? When those scary things are inevitably going to happen, because you can't remove all the scary stimulus from life. It's impossible, right? Which is why you go to some horse shows and the banner on the fence is the thing that's going to scare the horse today, or the little yapper dog, right? So some people will say no dogs here, and nobody clap, nobody do any of that stuff. Well, that problem is if the horse isn't looking for this thing, isn't it as a reason to be scared? They'll look for the next thing if we're on that reacting cycle, right? So what I'm trying to teach that horse is I'm going to help you in all of these scary situations. Right. And really, I say it like with people in clinics all the time is our horses are always looking. Horses are really not complicated creatures. Right? Humans make everything in life complicated. But horses are really quite simple. And all horses are looking for is the same thing humans are looking for, and that is peace. Right? They just want to be able to lay out in the sunshine or whatever, have a full belly, enjoy their buddies, and in some cases even work. I've known some horses that I believe really they enjoyed their job, right?
Yeah.
So they're looking for that peace, and they don't want to be anxious and nervous. So humans don't either, but oftentimes the humans are creating the roadblock to both human and the horse finding that peace. Right. So I'm trying to show that horse that even when those things happen, maybe we could even refer to those as obstacles, right? And those obstacles might be bridges. They might be, right, a barking dog. They might be the deer that jumps up, whatever it is, right? You can kind of fill in the blank there what that potential obstacle might be. Those are all potential learning opportunities to me, right? So I'm trying to teach that horse. And in fact, one of the instructors that I learned a lot from in law enforcement, he would say, we're going to practice like it's real. So when it's real, it's just like practice, right? You've done that. So that's what I'm referring to when we're starting in the round pen. We're preparing them for things so that when the scary stimulus happens, I want them to know I've got your back. You can find peace when I'm around. And that's something that, when you walk out into the to the herd with your horses and that, what do? Do they try to walk away? Or are they coming up to be around you? And that really is quite telling.
I think it depends whether it's dinner time or not. I don't know.
It may, but I've even seen some horses that are feeding, and if you come out there, they're like, "Yeah, I'll go eat somewhere else."
Yeah,
that can be problematic too.
So what if we're not, I guess that all kind of comes down to, like, we've got to learn how to control and find the peace ourselves, right? We've got to learn to be confident, learn to be leaders, and learn to be peaceful in those situations so that we can be a good example for the horse. How do you have some tips on how we can learn to be more confident, even if we're not a very leadery kind of person? Like, how can we fix ourselves? You've got all day, right?
It's such a great, it's such a great question, but that's even whether it's leadership or anything with horses, right? Horses are going to diagnose the things that we really need to fix in ourselves, right? I believe it was Ray Hunt says, you're not working on your horse, you're working on yourself. Right. And that's why one of the reasons I just absolutely love horses is because of horses don't lie. They show us the things. I always refer to, kind of backtracking a little bit, but when I started this journey with horses, I tell people all the time that I was a very impatient young man with anger problems. Mm-hmm. Right. And that caused problems. And I had to fix that. And I had to learn that if I was in that mindset, everything always took longer, right? If I was impatient and I just tried to get in a hurry, I would always end up coming back to the beginning anyhow. So I might as well just do that at the start, right? Yeah. And then with the anger things, I had to remind myself that the horse, they don't owe me anything, right? Nothing. So with that, moving back forward to the leadership aspect, I think the only way that you can become confident in anything is to have some success, right? As the saying goes, success breeds confidence. So we'll start in these small little things. For instance, again, you can use any kind of obstacle. Say you've got a little wooden bridge laying on the ground in your round pen or whatever. Well, we'll teach them, hey, this is your forward, for instance. I want you to step up on this and keep working on that. And then once that horse starts doing that, well, that's a success, right? So that makes you a little bit more confident. And then from there, you can build that to, whatever thing that might be bothering that horse. Maybe now it's a tarp, whatever it is, again, fill in the blank, and then work through it. And you realize, hey, I've already done this once. I can do this. And then the horse starts looking to us for the answers to the scary things in life. And then that just keeps building and building into, even I think one of the great examples of that is I actually have competed in the versatile horse and rider competition years ago. I used to do that quite a few times. And this might not be true, but I believe I'm the only person that has competed in it, later judged it, and I actually emceed it one year. So as far as I know, I'm the only person that's done that. But
yeah, I think.
But at any rate, that is a situation which is, to anybody who is thinking about trying that, absolutely do it. It is an adrenaline rush beyond anything you can imagine. But that is really the whole situation where that starting small works through to where you're now riding in front of thousands of people.
Yeah.
With, all of this craziness of all of the energy of all of those people and everything. And is the horse looking to you for that solution, right? And if you just looked at it as far as, well, I'm, right at the beginning, I'm starting this horse on the bridge and, well, it's not going well and we just quit. Well, we won't have those successes. So the confidence will never come.
Yeah.
Right? That's just the byproduct of it.
So it really is about start small. So even if you don't feel confident about something, pick something you can get past. Let's say it's the mailbox. Okay, well, there's a million mailboxes on the street. We'll try that. And then we'll work our way up to the scary things like the bear or or the versatile horse and rider competition.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which you're totally right. When I watch our riders and you watch the horses and they're a little bit nervous, and then you see the horse kind of turn to, okay, here I am in this scary situation. Everybody's looking at me and there's music and it's loud and there's an MC. And I love watching that moment when the horse kind of goes, oh, but I've got my buddy with me and we're going to be okay.
Right.
You can really tell when our riders have put in the work at home, because you can't start when you walk in. You've got to have started months ago or years ago, as the case may be. So that's awesome. And by the way, everybody, the applications are open now for the Versatile Horse and Rider competition in Ohio. So if you want to compete, you go online to equineaffaire.com and the application process is there. And we definitely want to see you ride. So Luke, we're about out of time, but thank you so much for coming on and sharing a little bit about you. And you guys, if you want to learn more from Luke and go to any of his clinics, he will be with us in Ohio, April 10th through the 13th. And we can't wait to see him there.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. I hope to see everybody there.
Well, I wanted to ask you, we have a brand new sponsor today, and it's Chewy. I know Chewy's done stuff with you guys in the past too, right?
Yes, they have sponsored the Versatile Horse and Rider competition, I think both events last year and maybe the year before. So we love Chewy around here.
Well, Chewy is your one-stop horse shop, from feed to supplements to supplies, medications, and more, delivered straight to your barn with fast, free shipping on orders over $49 and the convenience of auto ship. You'll never have to worry about running out of the brands you trust and the products you need. You can count on Chewy to keep your barn stocked and your horse happy. Start shopping today at chewy.com/equine. That's chewy.com/equine. And as I mentioned, we live in a horsey neighborhood, and when it's garbage day, you see Chewy box after Chewy box, because we're kind of rural too, so having it delivered is almost easier than anything else, right? So there's just Chewy box after Chewy box after Chewy box, all lined up at the garbage cans. So it is definitely used in our neck of the woods, and I think my wife has ordered a few Chewy boxes here recently too. So thank you to Chewy for joining us, chewy.com/equine.
All right. So up next, we have Ryan Rose. And if you've been following our socials, you know that Ryan was a presenter with us in Massachusetts, and we are really happy to bring him to Ohio this spring. Ryan has been working as a professional horse trainer since 2005. He teaches a comprehensive training program out of Rose Horsemanship in Wisconsin. He also enjoys competing and training horses in ranch versatility. You can see more from Ryan Rose by visiting his YouTube channel at Ryan Rose Horsemanship, where he has over 200,000 subscribers. And I know for a fact he puts out a lot of really great content. So if you're interested in learning from Ryan, check him out on YouTube. And also, of course, come to Equine Affaire in Ohio, because that's where he'll be. All right. Well, welcome, Ryan, to our show. We're so glad to have you on with us today.
Thanks for having me on.
And I told everybody that you were up in Wisconsin, but then I found out you're actually down in Florida right now. You're right next to Glenn.
Yeah. I've gotten soft over the years, and I've kind of paid my dues up in the winter cold, being from Michigan. So we're enjoying the Florida winters now.
So we've been in the 20s the last couple nights. I'm blaming you then.
It could be.
Yeah, but he brought it from Wisconsin with him.
Yeah, that's right.
But here's my question. So how does the cheese compare? Because isn't Wisconsin the birthplace of cheese? So what's the Florida cheese?
You can't find good cheese curds down here.
No, I agree with you.
If you
there.
want good cheese.
I agree.
The seafood is much better down here, though.
I would imagine. You just have to ship cheese curds periodically with you, just like
we do.
Do you really?
To be honest, we actually will bring cheese down for some of our friends down here that are into cheese, some 5-year cheddar or things like that. So yeah, Wisconsin definitely has good cheese.
That's true love right there.
Hungry.
I love cheese. It is the best thing. I need to visit Wisconsin just to go on a cheese tour.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, well, I love that. And so you guys winter in Florida, you've got your place in Wisconsin, but it's not just you. Your wife also works with you. Can you tell us a little bit about Emily and what she does as part of your business?
Yeah, that's actually how we ended up kind of coming to Florida for the winters, because down here we're not too far from the World Equestrian Center. Mm-hmm. And she was working with another equine physical therapist that was treating a lot of horses there. And so that's kind of how she got in and was starting to spend time down here. So yeah, she's a equine rehab practitioner is what they call it, but it's basically a physical therapist for horses. I mean, she's actually got a big conference. I don't know the title of it, but it's this weekend at the World Equestrian Center, where she's working with some of the best vets in the world and working on some Olympic level riders, doing some presentations.
Wow. So you've kind of got a secret weapon built in to because you've got an equine rehab specialist right there with you. Do you guys cross work together on the same horses a lot, or how do you guys work together?
Yes, a lot actually, because I mean, we usually, both of us in our fields, end up taking on a lot of difficult cases that people are having trouble figuring out what's going on with them. And she's really incredible. She has just a sixth sense for movement, and horses can't tell you, oh, this hurts or that hurts. And so luckily she's experienced with horsemanship and reading horse behavior, and that coupled with her background, and even as a physical therapist treating humans, she was in the NICU working on babies that similar, you had to read their their posture and their movements and identify what's going on with them because they can't communicate what's hurting. So she's taken all that to the horses, and she just does a really good job of, like, one of the things that I think is really unique about how she approaches it is she'll really look at the horses when they're like in a stall or in the pasture and notice some mannerisms and things like that. Because a lot of times when you pull the horse out and you're handling them, they kind of go into training mode of whatever their normal routine would be. And so it's not as obvious. They're not like, and their prey animals are designed to hide lameness and hide pain and injuries. And so when you're watching them, when they're really at their most comfortable state, you can identify things like maybe they're not, maybe they'll swat flies off to their left side, but they won't do that to the right. Or maybe they're standing, consistently with one leg cocked or something like that. And so she's really good at it. I'm probably biased, but based on the level of vets and stuff that ask her for her opinions on things, she's very good at what she does.
That's so cool. And how did you guys meet? How did you get, because you're a Western guy, right? And she's dressage and then this side. So how'd you guys get together?
So the farm that I was training out of, it's called the Horse First Farm up in Wisconsin. She boarded her horse there, and she was organizing some workshops and stuff that I was doing. And so I kind of knew her from being at the barn, but I kind of noticed that she would ride her horse around 4:00 every day. And so I decided 4:00 was a great time to ride.
I love it. That's a great dating tip.
So I just started riding, and then I found out she was going on a date with somebody else. So I had to make a move and take her out for a date. So worked out pretty good.
I love it. Okay, so dating tip 101. If you see a girl you like and her schedule, start adjusting your schedule so you ride at the same time. It'll all work out.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I want to talk a little bit more about you and your background. So what is it what do you do in your business? I guess let's talk about, like, what's your specialty? What do you enjoy doing?
Yeah, so I started off training horses, and I was very interested in, like, starting colts and working with challenging horses. And I really enjoy that process of figuring out what's going on with the horse and what's the problem that they're having, why is it being caused, and what can we do to help that horse. And the flip side of that is I really don't enjoy seeing a horse that's stressed out. It really bothers me seeing a horse that doesn't understand what's being asked of it and having problems. And so I really enjoy helping a horse feel more comfortable with whatever job, is required of them. So I was training horses, and then when you're training horses, pretty quickly you realize that you have to hand the horse off to the owner. And just because you can get the horse to behave or do something doesn't mean the owner has the same results. And so you teaching people and training horses really go hand in hand when you're doing, like, foundation training, colt starting, that sort of thing. So as I got into that more, I realized I really enjoyed seeing people be able to get results with the horses. And I found that as a fun little game of, like, how can I explain this better or train the horse in a way that the owner, can reproduce the same results that I'm getting with him. And that led me to eventually doing clinics and things like that. And that led to eventually me starting a YouTube channel where I got to work with some of the most difficult horses kind of around the world and show that to everybody what I would do to help that horse get more comfortable. So now most of my business is online, doing YouTube videos, and then I have a Patreon page where people can get more detailed, sequences and content on there.
Well, and I love that. I love how tech savvy you are, because you and I talked a little bit about this in Massachusetts, and it's like, so many horse trainers are more old school. It's like, come to the farm, I'll teach you it in person. But, like, you have just bought in wholeheartedly to the YouTube thing. You have so much great content, not just on YouTube, but on Facebook and all your different channels. So, like, is that something that you saw a need and you were like, I'm going to train myself to do this? Or was it an interest of yours? How'd you get so good at talking to the camera versus talking to the person?
Well, I really like sharing my ideas and my philosophy on training. I'm just kind of like a natural teacher. Even when I was a kid, I taught swimming lessons and I taught kayaking, and I enjoyed teaching in general. And so YouTube was just a perfect platform for me to be able to share what I do on a bigger scale. It's really, because sometimes you'd be at a clinic and you'd have, like, this amazing transformation happen, and you would love for everybody to have seen it. And really there was only 8 people that were there. And so now I can share that with people from around the world. And it was basically, it gave me a pathway to have people that really don't have an opportunity to ride with me in person still be able to access what I would do, how I do it, my philosophy, that sort of thing. And then from a business perspective, I really enjoyed teaching clinics, but what I didn't enjoy was all the traveling that was involved with it, and being away from home was hard. Yeah. So as much as I enjoyed my time when I was at the clinic, it was still hard to always be away from home. And so this just allowed me to stay in touch with everybody, from really, it's crazy. It's literally from around the world, via technology. So I appreciate the compliment of being tech savvy. I am not tech savvy at all, but I find a way to figure it out and get it done. And to be honest, I'm trying to encourage. There's a lot of people that are maybe a little older than I am that have even more experience with more horses than I do, that I'm trying to encourage them to post content and get that out there, because a lot of those guys, not that I grew up with iPhones and stuff like that, but it was not as unfamiliar to me, being able to share videos and stuff like that so easily on YouTube and other places. So yeah, getting these horsemen that have hundreds of thousands of hours out in the arena training horses, getting them to share their wisdom is just invaluable.
Okay, but 52 million downloads, I think you're doing okay. You're doing the right things. You're doing something right over there on YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube is interesting because I think it's like around a 10-to-1 ratio of entertainment to education, meaning most people go there to do entertaining things versus educational things. And so if a person, this is a little bit of advice for anybody out there that's thinking about starting a YouTube channel with horse training, is you have to tell a story, and it has to be kind of edutainment. It can't just be the nuts and bolts of horse training if you wanted to get, reach a broader audience and get more views.
That is so true. And I'm looking at your videos now. I went in and took a look at the most popular videos, and it is interesting. It's the ones that were the most aggressive, the most troublesome, right? That you worked with that ended up being the most popular videos, which I guess makes sense. Kind of is where people love to see train wreck, right? So they want to see how to deal with the train wreck.
Yeah, I think there's people that want to see the train wreck, and then there's also people that have a similar feel that I do of like, you don't really like seeing a really troubled horse. You want to see that horse be able to accept whatever the rider's asking it to do, or whatever they're doing on the ground, or that kind of thing. And I mean, a lot of these problems that I'm working with can be life or death for the horse or life or death for the human. I mean, it ends up being very important that we find a solution for whatever's going on for safety's sake for everybody.
Well, and everybody wants to see a happy ending too, right? I mean, that's the only reason we go there, is to see the happy ending, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah. And so for me, it works out great because I really enjoy that first session of the puzzle solving part of figuring out what's the horse doing and why does it feel like that's such a scary thing or hard thing for it to do. Because what's interesting about horses is they get very defensive very easily, and they feel threatened. So essentially anything a human wants the horse to do, the horse sees as a trap. And if this has happened over and over again, whether it's a trailer or it's feeding time or it's, accepting a saddle, you name it, if we can find a way to show the horse that what we wanted to do is where the relief is, we can really help them turn the corner there.
Absolutely. And I know you don't love to travel, but we're really excited that you traveled to Massachusetts for us last year, and you're coming to Ohio this year. What are you looking forward to the most about coming up to see us in Ohio for Equine Affaire?
Yeah. So first of all, I had a blast in Massachusetts. The crowd was so into horses and into education, and they were just soaking it all up. So I just really enjoyed all the people that I met there, and the energy. It's like, when you present to a lot of different audiences, you can tell if the audience is really into it, or if they're just eating their lunch and sitting there, and not really interested. But like when you ask a question to the crowd or a show of hands or something, and you get like 90% participation, it's just really fun for the presenter to be able to communicate with that kind of audience that's also really engaged. So that was super fun. So that definitely made me want to go to Ohio. But also, I'm being from the Midwest. I've been to Equine Affaire when I was, like a long time ago when I was a kid. And so I know how big it is. And it's been a bucket list thing for me to go present there, knowing it's one of the biggest horse expos probably in the world.
So extra exciting, kind of coming full circle this spring.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, just being from the Midwest and knowing how big of a horse fair, Equine Affair, Ohio is. Yeah, I'm super excited to go there.
Well, and I know you're going to be really popular because in Massachusetts, I will say every time I walked past a ring and it was full and it was busy, I could usually hear you. And I'm like, okay, it's Ryan. That's why it's so popular. That's why everybody's there. It's Ryan Rose. And it kept happening. And so I was really excited to see how successful you were up there. And I know that our Ohio audience is a little more Western slanted even than Massachusetts. And so I think you're going to be even more popular in Ohio. So we are super thrilled to have you coming to see us. And if you guys want to learn more about Ryan, definitely come to Equine Affair in Ohio and also check out his YouTube channel, his Facebook, his website, and we will have all those links in the show notes so you can learn more. So thank you, Ryan, for coming on the show today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Well, hey, it's January the 16th, and I know you've already ditched all your non-horsey New Year's resolutions, but who cares about those anyway? But there's the horsey one that you got to keep, the resolution where you said you're going to Equine Affair in Ohio in April. Allison and I will be there at the Equine Affair recording interviews, broadcasting multiple special episodes, and having a great time at the Horses in the Morning booth. We met so many of you last year. It was so much fun. And then there's all the other cool stuff happening, a fabulous educational program led by Ryan Rose, who we just met, Julie Goodnight, who was one of our first guests here on Horse Radio Network 16 years ago. It's always good to see her. Tick Maynard, who's been on our shows a lot here recently, and he's been all over the place. Cole Cameron, Luke Reinbold, who was on earlier, and lots more. We have Cowtown in Cooper. Did I say it right?
Yes, you did.
Okay. And the Versatile Horse and Rider Competition, the Great Equestrian Fitness Challenge, which you won't see me at, and some other great news. The Breed Bonanza is coming to Ohio. Everybody loves the breeds. And also, is the Adoption Fair coming too?
Yes, the Adoption Affair will be there. We'll have adoptable horses.
Get there early, though.
New hope.
They adopt out quickly.
Yes. If you want to do it quickly.
Get there. Don't wait till Sunday because you'll be out of luck. And of course, all the shopping that you could hope for. Tickets are on sale now at equineaffair.com or through the Western Edge mobile app, and we will see you there.
You can learn more about Equine Affair at our website, equineaffair.com, by going to our Facebook or Instagram pages at Equine Affair, or by checking out our YouTube channel at Equine Affair. We also have our own feed, our own exclusive feed on your podcast players. So look for the official Equine Affair podcast, and you can subscribe to get only our episodes. Or if you want to hear all the great stuff on Horses in the Morning and hang out with Glenn and Jamie and Jen and all the cool people over there, you can subscribe to Horses in the Morning and hear our episodes and their episodes at the same time. And you can follow Horses in the Morning on Facebook. Just search for Horses in the Morning, and we will see you at Equine Affair.